back to the Hot Takes podcast. Today, we're talking about something that affects the future of humanity: innovation. From biotechnology and food security to artificial intelligence in medicine. Innovation is shaping our world faster than ever before. But can it truly solve our biggest challenges? Well, our grade 8 and 9 students have spent the past 10 weeks exploring this question, and they've researched, questioned, and even planned real world solutions to global challenges. And today, they're here to share all their insights. Welcome back, guys, to our Hot Takes podcast. Glad to have you, MJ. It's your first episode with us. But again, for the audience's sake, let's introduce ourselves. Cash, share us about who you are and talk to the audience. What is your research about? And maybe you can share how old you are.
Hi, I'm Cash Norwood. I'm 13 years old and I'm in grade 8. And my topic was mostly focused on GMOs and how they help food security.
Hi, I'm 𝐁𝐨𝐭 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐞𝐬. I'm grade 9. I'm 14 years old, and my research is mainly focused on food security and agriculture technology.
Wow.
Hi, I'm 𝐁𝐸𝐤𝐞𝐬 𝐈𝐝𝐞𝐬. I'm 13 years old and I'm currently researching on GMOs and how they are misinterpreted as negative instead of positive.
Wow. Okay. And our newest guest, MJ.
Hey, I'm Michael Gamma Jr. My age is 14, and my research is AI being used in medical treatment.
That's awesome. Deep concepts here, folks. Again, for the sake of the audience, these are just 13, 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds that are talking about some deep stuff that probably you've never heard of. And so this episode right here is very important. I think, living in a world where everything is fast-paced, everything's progressing, innovations left and right, it's good to take a pause and just, inform ourselves of what's happening around us because, again, your age, when I was your age, I probably wasn't doing this. I was more worried about other stuff that are probably nothing compared to what you guys are worrying and looking into. But it's good to be informed this early, right? And so the conversation today will revolve around your research. I was pretty old when I even learned more about GMOs. I went to Indiana University. We sat down with people from different nations, and it was like a 2-month program that we looked at world and global issues. And one of the things that we were talking about, and that was roughly around over 10 years ago, 15 years ago probably, and GMO was a big thing already. But I like what 𝐁𝐸𝐤 said, that people always thought of GMO as a problem. But, most of the people that innovate usually tend to try to look for solutions, hence the result is innovation. But then as they innovate, problems spring out, right? And that's when now you start problem solving and saying, okay, now there's a new problem to solve, let's innovate again. But I think it has a lot to do with lack of awareness that has led to a lot of fear mongering, right? Like, because I don't know what it really is, I don't understand what it is, then I'm afraid of it. But that's lack of knowledge. And today we're hopefully going to open more eyes to the topics that you guys covered and the research that you went through, and then how it resulted to real world action. And so to start all of this, let's start with a big question. More controversial one. Do you think innovation is always good? Why or why not? MJ, you want to take this on?
Yeah, it mostly depends on the innovation. If it's something that doesn't really need to be fixed, it shouldn't be fixed. If it's something that needs to be fixed but doesn't have a good solution, like use dangerous chemicals, or is constructed in a way that's somewhat dangerous in a way, I think that's not a good idea. So it mostly depends on it, just mostly that.
So it's very important too that when you're trying to innovate, you have to always weigh the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
Do the pros always outweigh the cons? Because I think there's always be a con. Like there's always going to be a negative consequence sooner or later that we haven't probably figured out. But you have to ask yourself, like, is this innovation going to do more good than bad? And maybe you can cross the bridge when you get there, when you come across what bad thing it has, and then start innovating again. 𝐁𝐸𝐤, your thoughts?
Actually, like, I like what you said there about how there will always be a negative consequence to technology. For we are imperfect, and our creations will also be imperfect. So and not all innovations were really meant to be good nor bad. It's really just neutral, because it's really about how you use it that could work. Like I remember the last episode, you said something about how you use a knife, right? Is a knife a bad thing? It isn't a bad thing, right? It's used to chop up like meat or vegetables, right? It's used to prepare food, but people use it for stabbing. People use it for as a weapon, and but there are both pros and cons to having a technology like that. So there, it really depends on how you use it.
That's right. Makes sense. Makes total sense. And so, do you think part of it is also informing people of how not to use it that could lead to, probably the negative consequences?
It's not really about how negative the technology is. It's about how negative the people
Got it.
are
got
using it. It's
got it.
because like even if we informed people how to not use weapons, they will still use weapons.
If they want to, they will.
If they
always.
want to, they will. Yes,
That's right, makes sense.
and yeah, like
Can the
a lot of
negative impacts be avoided though?
it can be avoided, but it can never fully be stomped out. It can
Ah.
never fully be clean.
Eliminated.
Yeah, it
okay.
can never be fully eliminated. Because there will always be at least like, let's be real, at least 100 people doing it.
Makes sense. And I think I like what you said, that it has a lot to do with our imperfections as human beings, that eventually we also will be creating something that may be imperfect and that we may be oblivious to the negative impacts for now, but then, that's another problem to solve. Great insights there. How about you?
Yeah, I think innovation is not always good. Like what Yuki said, that it is entirely dependent on the person who created it or the person who used it. In terms of solving global challenges, I think yeah, it will solve some, but it will not fully solve
Everything.
everything.
That's
So
right.
if you really want to like solve the problem, you need other factors such as collaboration and cooperation from
I
other
like that.
people.
I like that. I like that. That the solution shouldn't just come from one source. Like it demands a good number of collaborative people, good collaborative effort from different organizations to make sure that we cover all bases when it comes to the negative impacts of innovations. Cash, your thoughts.
I think it's based on the time and when it happens, that type of innovation. Because if it's something that is relevant in terms of what's going on in the real world and something that needs to be done, then the innovation can be done. But at the same time, like I said earlier, we're still humans. The way we perceive things will also be different. We are given something new. We're
Mhm.
gonna look at it in a way like, oh, okay, it does this, but what doesn't it do? Or what does it do that may harm me?
Yep.
So looking at innovations that way, I think it's more of that's most of the problem with innovations, because as much as an innovation can be used for different types of subjects, the way people use it, the way people perceive it, can also affect how it's used.
That's right. And is it possible, and this is for everyone, is it possible that there's a tendency for human beings to be blinded and distracted by the positive things of what the innovation can bring, that we tend to not mind the negative, right? Like, but the iPad's so good and all that we don't even take the time to consider, okay, so what's the bad thing that it actually brings to the table? Because we're so, at awe by the positive things that it brings. Is that something that happens? Do you find yourselves personally experiencing what innovations actually bring to our lives?
Yeah, I think it also may have something to do with the way stuff is marketed. Usually things that aren't marketed in the most positive
Yeah,
way.
because you
and have
never
the most-
mention the bad things, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to sell something to someone, you won't say, "Yeah, but this can also kill you." You don't say that, right? You obviously when you're trying to
Yeah.
sell something, so that makes sense. Marketing, that has a lot to do with how people also perceive things. Yeah.
But most of the time when marketing, companies will usually give it to you in a way that says, oh, it does this, it does that, it does that. Usually that's end of commercial. But then when you look at the reception of it as well, most people when they initially see it and get the product, they're looking for the positives. And when they don't see the positives, then it's like, okay, now what are the negatives?
Yeah.
If the positives show out first, and they're like, oh, it's such a
Then
good
they
price,
end with
la,
that,
la,
right?
la.
They stop with the
Yeah,
positives.
they stop with the positives.
All right, this makes sense. Anybody else who wants to chime in? And randomly, you can. Okay, Yuki, you have something to say?
I will just add on to what Cash said. Like, yeah, and that's why medicine companies, when they're advertising something, that's why they say the negative so fast. Like at the end, like they're like,
And they put it in fine print, but very small.
Yeah,
like
but
you
very
can't,
small,
yeah,
yeah.
Just
Like-
so that they can say that, oh, that's actually there. You
Yeah,
just
no, no,
needed a
like-
microscope to see it,
yeah,
right?
like it make us nausea, make us nausea, headaches, like, and then they say it so fast, and that's really the psychology with marketing.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of amazes me with marketing, like how, it really taps into the like the
The psyche and the
the
human
psyche, yeah.
behavior.
yeah,
and,
like the human behavior and like how the mind works.
That makes sense.
And like that's how, like, in some billboards they make it like scannable, like because there's this quote that from a famous marketer, humans don't read, they scan, right? Like we like read through things really fast.
That's right.
So like and marketers, they have experimented and they found like the best path for the human eye to track. So for example, like the text here, photo here, text
Yep.
here, right? And so that it can produce like the most outcome of buyers and
right.
customers.
So it's all about economics. It's all about sales. And now, because of that, we've tend to, there's an oversight on the negative impact. Because we highlight the positive, we kind of mention the negative, but briefly. But it's all about then the monies, right? The money that it's all about that. So, but then ultimately, the ironic part about it is that eventually the consequences will demand more from us eventually. You're smiling, Sam. What are your thoughts about this? Like, do you think that that's what it does? Like, eventually we'll have to pay up, right? The consequences and the negative impact will demand more than the positive.
Yeah, an example of that is I saw it on the news. This guy drank gasoline and put it all over himself
Wow.
to be popular on Facebook. And now he's in the hospital trying to pay hospital
There you-
fees. And his video even got knocked down because it break the policy.
Got
policy
it.
of
Got
the-
it. How about you? How about you, MJ? You have thoughts about this? How
I'm gonna-
innovation really is, is it doing more good than is there really some underlying harm that people don't notice?
This is not exactly an innovation, but I'm gonna set an example. It was made by 3 YouTubers, Lunch Leap. Yeah, pretty much they just listed all of the good stuff, like electrolytes, vitamin B, and then just a bunch of other stuff. And then suddenly someone found mold in it.
So again, so there has to be. I think you have to consider responsibility every time innovation is involved, right? You can't just innovate for the sake of innovating, right? All right, so let's move on to this one. So now I'm gonna go deeper into your research. I know you put in 10 weeks of deep research, and so you covered a huge amount of topics and facts when it comes to some cutting edge innovations, right? So what's the most surprising or exciting thing that you discovered in your research? We'll start with MJ and then we'll go all the way to Cash. But MJ, based on your research, what did you find like a major breakthrough, some bigger risks or some ethical concerns that blew your mind that people are not aware of? But you personally, you were like, no way. It was part of the discovery that you uncovered in the course of your 10-week research.
This is not exactly like a ethical concern.
Yep.
That I'm worried about. It's an ethical acceptance in a way. Basically, what I heard was people were accepting the fact that AI can be used in medical research. And I got a bit shocked because I'm an artist myself, which kind of put me on the real human side. But the more I researched about it, maybe it isn't so bad, in a sense. Basically, AI is good in communication and can adapt in multiple stuff. Like when you're mad, when you're sad, they start to adapt to make you like either calm down or either like make you feel better or relate to you in some way for some. And I think that could be good in communication when it comes to medical research. But once again, the ethical concern that I felt was mostly because humans are being replaced by it. But from what I know, humans will have at least some involvement in it.
Got it. Got it. That's really powerful. I think, again, that's a classic example of being distracted and smokescreened by the positive things that you tend to miss out on the other impacts that it has. 𝐤𝐤𝐤, how about you? What's an eye opener that you discovered in the course of your 10-week deep research?
Actually, when I released a survey.
So to talk about briefly your
Yeah,
topic,
sorry.
what was the topic, and then what is like
Oh,
a
yeah, yeah.
mind blowing thing that you?
Oh
discovered?
yeah. So for me, I was researching about GMOs and how people view them so negatively, and I should add on this: they strongly opinionate towards negative.
Mhm.
How I know this is because with my survey, around I think around 27% of people actually know what GMOs are.
Just 27.
Just 27%. So that's like
A
quick
good
math.
70%
a
of
good
people have
70%.
zero idea
Yeah,
what
what-
GMOs are.
Yeah, or like have very little knowledge about it. And I had one of this part of the survey where it's just opinions. One person said, I don't know who that is. One person said GMOs is a criminal offense. It should be banned. If you're watching this right now, whoever said that,
Yeah, you might want to inform them more about it, but
Yeah.
later we'll talk about. So that's mind blowing for you. Like you realize that there are more people that have very little information about GMOs, and so the immediate response is it's bad.
yes, and that's kind of like it's like what Amri said. It's more of an ethical concern. It's more of accepting the new technology, like how like for example in the 80s, people didn't accept cars as a new way of transportation. People didn't accept Nikola Tesla's like electricity invention and the light bulb, right? Because they thought it was useless. Because they had like candles.
So
they
it's
had-
really lack of information, and maybe we might say ignorance, that has led to just underusing these innovations that people are coming up with.
Yeah, and my research doesn't really focus on like it doesn't really focus on how the technology can like solve all of this, solve all of that, because it already is doing that.
Got
It's just my research is more about accepting the technology that will solve those problems.
Awesome. Sam, what's yours?
My research mainly focuses on food insecurity and what agricultural technology can do to help them. Well, first I'll talk about food insecurity. World Bank made a report that they predicted that if global food prices rise by just 1%, nearly 10 million people will go to extreme poverty.
Wow.
And-
1%.
Yeah, and they classify as extreme poverty by a person living with less than $2.50. So
So in Philippine context, that's around 150 pesos. Yeah.
less than 100.
Yeah, that's at 100. Okay. That's right. Yeah. And so again, if you just increase it by what 1% or 2%, 1%,
1%.
how big is again going to fall under the poverty line?
Nearly 10 million.
10 million. Wow. And I think third world countries usually receive the worst end of that deal, right? Okay. That's a big thing. Yeah, go ahead. You have more to add?
So now following that, I found out I researched and found AEM. They made a report, Association of Equipment Manufacturers. They made a study on the benefits of using agricultural technology, agtech, and they consulted with many environmental groups, and they found out that farmers who use precision agriculture had a 4% increase in crop production, 9% decrease in herbicide, pesticide use, and artificial chemical, and a 4% reduce in water usage.
That's
Now, to put that into environmental perspective, so you can easily see it, they combined all those statistics together, and they found out that all those statistics help preserve 2 million acres of land.
Wow.
So that's like 8,000 kilometers, bigger than most cities.
That's awesome. And I think those facts are quite relevant to where we are. We're in we're in the Philippines, and we're an agriculture country. Like we've got so much agriculture and data and information like that. we could probably do something enough to at least benefit the region that we're in, may it be Southeast Asia or Asia in general. And if we can use that data and innovate in a way that it will benefit more people than do harm, I think that's a really good insight. Thank you for that. You want to add anything, Sal? That's
Yeah,
it?
I think that's the reason why I researched this topic,
Ah.
because this year the DA, or Department of Agriculture, um, stated that we have food security food security emergency on rice po.
Wow. So there's this. It's that's the irony. We're an agricultural country, and yet we are experiencing so much lack in agricultural products, and it has a lot to do with inefficiency. And with these kinds of innovations, I think, it can grow the impact that we have globally. Cash, how about you?
So my topic is mostly focused on GMOs. Sort of similar to Yukio's, and how people kind of view them negatively, and how we can use those to help food security. And my biggest takeaway is probably looking back and seeing that we have been using GMOs for a very long time. Maybe not the lab where we know what we're putting into the fruit,
Mm-hmm.
but people have been selectively breeding, which is breeding fruits and plants, for hundreds of years to try to find different results for
Mhm.
different plants. May that be for nutritional benefit, for crop yield. And it's kind of funny looking now. It's like, okay, now we have a more precise way to do this. We're not
With science and
with
the technology.
science and
That's right.
technology and knowing what we're putting in it now. And now we're actually viewing it more negatively than guessing and actually harming it.
Got it. Yeah, because probably before, when we didn't have this kind of advanced, equipment or materials or findings, there was a lot of testing and a lot of experimenting, and probably we won't immediately see the consequences until like 10 years after, when some deformation or happens. But now with what you're saying, that with science and technology, that kind of speeds up the process, right?
Yeah, and at this point, actually, in terms of GMOs being used for commercial use, there's really a very low percentage of GMOs being used. Most GMOs are used as feed for other animals. Most GMOs are used in different cooking oils, not really used for actual products like actually selling a GMO apple
Got
or
it.
something like that. It's more often you'll see it as some type of ingredient in something that is manufactured more in like a faster
Okay,
way.
contrary to what people think, and Yukiya and Cash, you probably would want to chime in, but would you say that GMOs are generally helpful? Like, contrary to public belief, it's chemicals, it's genetically modified, so it's probably doing us more harm than good. Can you enlighten us with the fact that it may be beneficial?
It actually
Yeah,
it very much is. And actually Frosted Flakes. You guys eat that?
Frosties?
Frosted Flakes.
Is that Frosties?
The one with the tiger. as the
Oh,
mascot.
yeah, okay,
Only
okay,
the
got it,
tiger.
got it.
Actually, they are transitioning to having GMO corn used in their cornflakes.
Is
And-
that is that something I should be worried about? Because I love Frosties, but
No, yeah. It's definitely nothing to worry about, because scientists have tested that GMO corn, GMO soybeans are completely safe to eat, and it's actually kind of revolutionizing our the agricultural industry.
Mhm.
And actually, fun fact: corn, 90% of corn and soybeans are actually GMO.
wow. Okay.
Like
So all
90%.
this time we've been scared of GMOs, but we've been consuming GMO products, and we seem to be okay. I think.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are all okay, and actually it's kind of more about transparency.
Mm.
Like, it's more of a transparency issue with the businesses, because businesses marketing team incredibly smart, like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, who, like, if you're
Chipotle.
part of the marketing team, kudos to you. You're amazing, and you're incredibly
They get the job
incredibly
done.
smart.
In other words,
Yeah,
right?
they get the job done, but they get the job done in lesser ethical ways, but they still get the job done. And this lesser ethical way is called fear mongering,
Yep.
with how these people label GMOs as like non-GM, like they label them their food non-GMO, so that people would buy them more often, because because the consensus with people are like, oh, GMOs are bad, and I would rather buy non-GMO foods. So businesses, marketing teams hear that and say, oh, so people don't want non-GMO. Okay, got
Then
it.
they start
So
putting it in our
yeah, they start,
ads. Yeah,
and actually, this is the funniest case of this. While I was at the grocery store, I saw salt, and it had a non-GMO label.
that's right.
It's minerals, guys.
That's
It's
right.
literally just
It's
sodium and
it's
chlorine.
it's stating the obvious
Yeah.
just for marketing purposes, and so
Wow.
that makes sense.
How can you
MJ, you want to add something to that?
How can you GMO salt?
That's right. That's the thing.
Also, another thing, bananas are GMOs.
Yes, they are.
Pretty much, they are GMOs, and we've been consuming it for like years on end, and nobody has ever noticed it.
Actually, yeah, for about 23 years we've
So
been consuming
is
GMO
it
bananas.
safe to assume that because of lack of information and knowledge, people have capitalized in that, used it to their advantage, because nobody else is talking for GMOs, right?
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of people more talking about what's against or what the negative impact or things about, fear mongering about GMOs, that because there's no pushback from the other side, it's created this false perception on the impact of GMOs, when in reality there's a lot of things that we consume that are GMO related, right?
Surprisingly enough, that is kind of true.
Mhm.
While I was researching my thesis statement, I recorded all of the articles into one document, and I kind of noticed like a 55-45%, like 55 to 45, like kind of ratio to like for like 55% of them were like positive,
Mhm.
or no, 55% of them were negative sources, while 45% of them were positive sources. So it's kind of even-ish, and it's yeah, and that kind of surprised me, because originally, yes, I thought it was a lack of information, but clearly there is quite
There's-
a lot
yeah,
of
there's good
information
enough
for both
information.
sides. It's just that it seems as if that people are seeing more sources that are negative more than that they are
So you're
positive.
saying that the negative side is more aggressive in pushing for their agenda than the positive ones.
Yes.
And you think it's
definitely.
business economics related? You think it's a lot to do with that? Has a lot to do with that?
It is definitely
Because you did mention marketing,
yeah.
right?
It is definitely related, and I'm actually shocked to see that people are so passionate about this.
I got it. I got it.
And I just thought that during week 6, and then now when I released my survey, it proved everything.
Got it.
People were so passionate. People were saying like it should be banned. It should be misused. And only, like, I think I counted, only 6 people said that. Only 6 people with their opinions said that this is positive, and the rest of their kind of positive are like neutral,
Yeah.
saying that, oh, if it's safe to eat, then it'll be fine,
I got it.
right? But everybody else was saying that they were negative.
I got it. I got it. Okay. So here's the thing. I know that it went beyond just your paper research, right? I know you guys went through your thesis statements, did heavy research for 10 weeks, but it just didn't end there. And that's what I love about what you guys did, right? It ended with a community project, right? There's an output, and you wanted to show change, and you wanted to take action. So this one I'm really more interested in, because everything else that you guys mentioned, that's something that we can get off the internet. But what I'm really invested in is, okay, now that you know this, so what, right? Cash, help us out.
So for my community action project, I decided to kind of take a little experiment with my family. So I watched just a quick 2-minute video from 𝐁𝐨𝐭 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿, and he had a video saying that, oh, these people said they knew what GMOs were
I
and
thought-
their
I thought-
effects.
I thought for a minute you genetically modified your family for a minute.
I was about to say no, not like that. But he asked people what they think of GMOs, would they buy GMOs. But then after all the questions he asked, each person, what was a GMO? What does it stand for? And most of the people did not know what it was, which I decided to test on my family. So we
Oh,
played-
I'm excited to see and hear what the results are.
So we played a little Kahoot. It was a factor with Kahoot with my parents, and just trying to see how much they knew. I even let my little brothers join, but it was kind of funny seeing how, like, what, this is this and this is that. They're like all screaming, and my dad being competitive, losing to my mom. It's like, okay. Okay, what is it next? Next question, Cash. Come on, come on, come on. So my dad ended up winning, but looking back, I guess both of them were kind of talking to me afterwards and seeing how people aren't really knowledgeable on the topic, and people can be easily misled to think one way about a topic. Just an example that me and my mom talked about afterwards is I'm pretty sure it was Chipotle.
Mhm.
Chipotle said we're going non-GMO for the next how many months, years, decades on end. And about maybe 2 months after that, they got sued because the feed they were given to their animals was
GMO
GMO.
related.
So it's
Ah,
like people, I think, just need to educate themselves. I think it would have been fine if they said
yeah.
non-GMO. At least educate yourself on what a GMO actually is,
And
and
this
try
we're talking
to
about
refine the
Chipotle, and that's
process.
not like a small company that it's a hole in the wall. It's a big brand, and I think there's no way around it because, like what you guys said, it's doing more good than harm generally, and it's the lack of knowledge that has led to all these fear mongering and all the people saying just if we don't know what it is, let's get rid of it, right? But then you're saying that eventually if you do some deep diving, you'll realize that one way or the other you'll end up with a product that has somewhat been genetically modified, right?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest thing with most innovations. At first glance, I think basically almost every innovation we looked at it one way or another. We looked at it positively or negatively. And the way we look at it at first can greatly affect how we look at it in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It will take some time for people to kind of dive into the topics. Because it's like, I don't know, a lot of people who like us will go 10 weeks into a topic, deep dive, and find out these types of things. And so, kind of maybe educating people on a smaller scale
Right.
may help each of our problems kind of, I guess, ground this out.
And it's funny because, all right, I'll give you an example of what you guys are saying, right? Like when you buy a new gadget, right? How many of you actually open the manual, right? Like this fine print, thick with so much instructions and so much information about the gadget. Everyone that just jumps right into opening the gadget, using it, playing it without even reading the fine print, right? And I think that has a lot to do with the same thing, right? Like every innovation, people are just so excited to experience what it brings to the table without reading the fine print and educating themselves of the pros and cons. Because, like what Yukiya said, any object is neutral. It has its pros and cons depending on how you use it. And without reading, if you don't read the fine print, you can end up using it negatively, right? And so, okay, Sam, how about you? What's your community project, and what's your biggest like push after your deep research?
My community action project is called Food Share. It's a prototype or demo of a website that lets people who have surplus or extra food or people who are in need to create posts and like accept or donate food for their for food. So I made this approach because it benefits both persons. It lessens food waste, but also helps in food
That's a
security.
really good idea, and it's amazing that it came from someone like you, right? Like you're not in the food industry, you're not, but but this right here is a good example of anybody can easily, if you're into what you're researching, you can go deeper. And in fact, just so that everyone knows, I actually worked with an organization, and one of the things that they found out when it comes to this issue is that the number one source of food wastages, you know where it comes from? From hotel buffets. There's so much food waste from buffets from hotels. Well, now there are restaurants that are pushing for buffets, and there's so much food waste. And so there's one organization that's trying to push for getting those excess food to the impoverished areas. Like how do we tie up and how do we bring now the abundance of food, and before it goes to waste, how do we take it now to actual people who are hungry right there and then? Because obviously you can't make it stay overnight because it can rot and it can spoil. So being able to bridge that, so that you're on the right track, because there are bigger organizations trying to figure that out. But the fact that it starts from you, and it could be home based, right? Like, do we have excess food at home? And what do we do with it? That's a huge deal. Very good. All right, Yuki, how about you?
For me, just a little bit of backstory for this one. One of my hobbies is cooking. I really do like cooking. I like being able to make food for people, making them say like, "Oh, it's good," and then I can see their faces afterwards. Like when I turn away, I just like give them like, and then like or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The satisfaction of being able to serve people with
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good food. That's
yeah,
right.
I know. Yeah, and I realized that like I like, and that's the reason why I picked this topic in the first place,
Mhm.
right? Because I like food, I like eating food, I like making food, and it just really interested me. And now I kind of get to share that with everybody else, because for my community action project planner, we made recipe cards for with GMO ingredients, and you know how I said like it could be a lack of awareness that people have a negative view on them. Well, actually, the GMO recipe cards come with a fact built in,
Mhm.
a fact that supports the statement that GMO foods are actually good and are completely safe to eat. Like how so people are more informed about how how like how GMOs really are, and how like and how
Benefits also.
yeah, and the benefits of GMOs. But we actually yeah, and we actually made these ourselves. I don't have a sample right now, but I could bring one. Maybe the next episode I could bring one.
Yep.
And yeah, this really reaches a lot of people, especially in the food industry.
Yeah.
And that's mainly where most people have their opinions on GMOs.
Right. And I think because people don't talk about it much, that whole blank space, it now becomes a good venue for misinformation to thrive, right? But if we fill it up and replace it with the correct information, then I think it will, eliminate fear that most people get to experience when it comes to GMO. How about you, MJ?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yuki.
Actually, one last thing. I heard this quote from somebody. I forgot who it was. It was just some famous person, I guess. But I would say, like he said that the lack of information is where misinformation thrives.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect. MJ, how about you? What's your community project as a result of your thesis research?
I mean, there's not much to say here.
When it comes to AI
Honestly,
and medicine, right?
yeah. Honestly, there's not really much that, other than the fact that I found new researches by actually asking AI about it.
That's the irony of the AI.
Yeah, very ironic. But honestly, it gave me a very big insight on it, despite its irony, in which it actually gave a very complex way of saying morality. It stays neutral while also saying the benefits and negatives of it, even if it's literally the thing they are talking about.
So, all right. We're getting to the point now that I want to kind of push for quick thinking here. And this is my favorite segment in the show. It's called Rapid Fire Hot Takes, bold opinions only. Obviously, I'm not going to, fault you for your answer, but I just want to hear your opinion about a couple of questions that we have prepared for you guys. And so I'll start with MJ, and then I'll probably ask one rapid fire question for each of you, okay? So let's start with MJ, and this is the question for you, okay? What's your hot take on this? Will artificial intelligence replace doctors in the future?
Hot cakes? Where?
No.
Hot take?
Oh, sorry.
100% not. You still need humans in a way to operate it. Even if it's automatic, there are still going to be extreme errors. And in fact, what is exactly going to happen at that point?
Okay. So for you, doctors, nope, never going to be obsolete, even if we have artificial
You
intelligence.
still need some manual work there, because as of now, AI is not very advanced to a point where it can actually replace a bunch of stuff like
Got it.
detection and a bunch of little
And
small
technic-
pixels.
And technically, how AI works is that it gets trained by humans.
So it's still, the source
Yeah,
is still
so
human
yeah,
beings,
so
then.
so it's still
Okay.
technically
You still need more
humans.
sources
All right.
for that.
Okay, good. All right. Now, Yukio, this one's for you.
All right.
Are GMOs the key to solving world hunger, or are they too risky?
Oh damn.
Said, "Oh, damn."
I would say for me, world hunger, very big problem. GMOs alone cannot solve it.
Good answer.
GMOs alone cannot solve it, but I'm not saying it can completely solve it. It will really help. One of the biggest reasons why GMOs were invented was because of the bigger crop yields, right? Because you have bigger fruit. Like, have you seen like the original banana, like non-GMO?
Yeah,
It's
like
like
those full of seeds.
it's like
This small. Yeah.
th-
It's
yeah,
that
it's
small,
that
and
tiny.
and even if you opened it up, it's just full of seeds.
Yeah, it's full of seeds that you can't eat, and so
I did not know that.
yeah,
Just strain
I
it.
did not
You
know
would need to
that.
strain the banana.
Okay, okay. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and
Imagine my banana queue. No,
I
it's
know, yeah.
all seeds. All seeds. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
it's
All
just
right.
like all mostly seeds,
Got it. Got it. Okay.
and
Pretty small.
and like with world hunger being such a massive problem in like and it's global, right? That's the world part of world hunger. But it will never GMOs will never completely solve it. We don't It's not that we need another technology that will solve world hunger. It's really just about collaborative effort. We really need everybody here, and we need to all take part and take action into this
Another
to truly solve this.
another part, it must be accessibility as well,
Okay.
because GMOs are not very accessible as well.
Yeah,
Got it.
but selective breeding very much is.
Yeah, pretty much
right.
is.
That's
Very
right.
much.
All right. How about you, Sam? This one's for you. Really good insights so far.
Oh.
All right. Awesome, guys.
you.
All right. So this one's for you. You did talk about agriculture, so we're gonna delve into biotechnology a little bit. So should there be limits on how far biotechnology and AI can go, especially when it's related to agriculture? Should there be limits?
Yeah, I think there should be limits. Mainly concerning like human privacy or like human biology po. I think there should be limits on, so we should not we're not going to step over those boundaries.
I like that. So there are still
Good take.
ethical lines that shouldn't be crossed, right? No matter how innovative and how forward thinking it can be, we still need to have those parameters. We need to have moral compasses, right? We still need to be guided. I like that. Cash, how about you? This one's big, okay? And I want this for you. What's the most overrated or overhyped innovation today?
Korean barbecue. Oh gosh. I mean, this is a hard one only because when you look at it, not almost everything, but basically almost everything that we have today is innovative in a way that somebody innovated something for the good of whatever they thought was for the good of themselves, for the people around them. And so I think I'm not going to specifically pinpoint one, but the most overrated ones are probably the ones that really don't have a necessary benefit one way or another. It's mainly for either personal use or innovations that may not be used at all.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things. Wait, this is hard.
Oh yeah, just
thinking
go ahead.
back.
Just just think about it, right? Because again, I like what you're saying that maybe there are some people that innovate for the sake of innovation, right? And right now they're not really solving much, right? It has been competitive. It's been a competitive market that people like you did say that now it's all about economics. It's all about the Benjamins, right? And so sometimes people innovate to come up with something that they can just sell without really looking into like this. Does it really benefit more people? Does it do more good than actually just raking in the money?
Also, Cash, I would like to remind you one last thing. This is the hot takes. Say whatever you want. It's your
That's right.
opinion, but dude,
Be bold.
yeah,
Cash,
be bold.
let's go.
Come on.
I think for me, it's just the main innovations that I think I'm going to pinpoint for this one is the innovations that are made not from knowledge, but for profits. Innovations not made for the sake of the people, but
That's right.
made for the sake of the businesses
That's right.
and corporations.
That's good. That's good. That right there is gonna probably push buttons that you're not supposed to be pushing for
I'm sorry, I'm
audience.
sorry,
No, that's okay. But it is what it is. These are facts, right? Okay. So again, very good insights. I know we've eaten so much time, and I know a lot of people are now well informed because of our episode. So let me end this. This has been such an inspiring discussion. Before we close, what's your biggest takeaway from your research? And so I'll give everyone a moment to be able to share. MJ will start, and then we'll end up with Cash. But MJ, what's your biggest takeaway from the 10-week research process that you've undergone, and how what can you take and bring home from that?
The thing I realized most of the time was that I was an artist and I had a bias because I had a beef with a bunch of AI bros.
Mhm.
Just a bunch of people who were against AI. I mean, who are against human art in general and just kept using it. And I kept that hatred to this research. But the thing was, that bias was somewhat wrong in a way because those art was used mostly for commercially or like claiming it as their own. But on this insight, it's actually good in an ethical way because in a way, um, something like talking to like someone with like mental issues or someone, it can sometimes be struggling when it comes to doctors or therapists, even if it's their profession. They know exactly what to say, even if it's not, even if it's slightly flawed. But that's not really some. It's like a neutral side in a way,
Yeah.
and that's not really something much things I saw from like doctor's office or therapists. I'm at least on my side. Not sure about others, but to say the least, AI can be good, and I was simply having a bias since the beginning.
That's a that. I mean, any change in realization and reflection is always a good thing, right? And I think that's very powerful personally. Just being able to change your biases and opening your mind to possibilities that what you initially thought was, factual, was then again challenged by your deep research, and I really like that. Yukio, what's your biggest takeaway?
All right. I'll be speaking directly to the audience right here, just for 1 minute, just for like a couple minutes. Whatever you're doing right now, stop doing it right now. This is
And
gonna.
pay close attention.
This
to
is a
Yukio.
public announcement. I repeat, a
What-
public.
You're probably asleep right now.
What I'm gonna probably be saying. Wait, hold on. If they're sleep, wake up. All right. So whatever they're saying, what I'm gonna say right now is gonna be quite deep. It's pretty personal to me. So if you guys, if you're doing something really important like driving, then don't stop driving. Dude. But
You're gonna cause a three-way parallel.
all right, let's do this. You will never truly accept everything. You will never truly accept this technology. Like for example, how AI was. We generally accept it now, but when it was like 5 years ago, we never accepted like this is the technology that will destroy the world or something. Same with cars. Once again, like I said, they never accepted it as a true transportation system, but now it is.
Mhm.
And it's really about accepting the technology and especially accepting it early, right? And especially accepting the technology early will truly cause such a radical shift. If we all just collectively like do the things that we need to do, if we all collectively agree to do these things and we really discipline ourselves to do this, then we can solve any problem,
Mhm.
right? Like apes together strong,
Mhm.
or something like that. And like for example, with world hunger, if we all come together and we all tackle this problem at once, then we can solve this. With water scarcity, if we all tackle this problem at once, we're gonna solve this. If like for example with racism, if we're all tackle this problem together, we're gonna solve this. If we all just come together and solve the problems that are plaguing this world, then we can truly do anything.
Yeah.
We can do anything
That's right.
if we all put our minds to it and if we all work together.
Yeah.
Then we can solve this.
And I think I like what you said because it doesn't have to be grand, right? Like, and Cash doing that Kahoot informative game with his family was good enough. And imagine if every family will get to do this on that level, then collectively, I think that can, again, throwing many pebbles into a river can create that kind of current that we're expecting. You just don't have, one pebble won't make a change. You can throw one huge stone, yes, but it will be, short-lived. But having multiple pebbles being thrown into water can create that kind of change that we're looking at. And so I appreciate your statement because it can start at home.
Yeah, and one last thing, this is quite the hot take. If you're Gen Z, Gen Alpha, I'm sorry if I offend you with this one, but the one thing plaguing my generation and this upcoming generation is persistence,
I-
right? Like once we tackle a problem once, it doesn't budge. We tackle a problem again, it doesn't budge. Oh well,
we give
I'm
up.
done.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm done. I
Friendly
give
fire
up.
will not be tolerated.
Yeah, right. And we're just and we're so quick to give up, right?
So resiliency is quite essential.
Resilience is really resilience is what we really need right now, because and patience also, because problems don't solve like that.
Yep.
Problems don't solve instantly. It needs time. It needs time. And like for example, that problem with war, like World War One, it took like 30 years to be solved. It took 30 years to solve that, and it really takes time. So if you hit it once, it doesn't budge. You hit it twice, it doesn't budge. Keep going at it over and over and over again. If you fall, get back up,
I like that.
right?
I like
And
that. Powerful.
you can apply this to anything,
Powerful.
right? Like you can, and this is the same thing with my research, right? Like when I tried, it took me a while to read to form my research report, because the survey respondents were so confusing, right? So then I hit at I go at it once, it doesn't budge. I go at it once, I go at it again, it doesn't budge. I go at it again, I go at it again, I go at it again until
A breakthrough happens.
until something clicks,
That's
something happens.
That's really good. Thank you for that, Yukio.
Wait,
Yeah, go ahead, MJ.
I can relate to this in a way because I'm an artist, and an artist for drawing. So basically, I used to have trouble with anatomy, and I still do, but I still kept persistence, and I found ways to do anatomy properly, and then I was able to do my designs a lot better. Overall, persistence is a good idea as long as you learn more
That's right.
and learn from your mistakes all the way. It's not always persistence doing the same thing all over and over and over again. It's finding new solutions with persistence.
That's right. And I think that results to innovation. I think every innovation that we've experienced today was a result of somebody being persistent and always continuously figuring out a way to solve the problem. Sam, how about you?
Yeah, my answer is pretty similar to what was said. Our small ideas or actions can really make a big part on.
We should never
address-
underestimate any action, right?
Yeah, on addressing global challenges, we just need to be open on new ideas, open to changes, not giving up. If you truly want to have a happy ending, it depends on where you stop the story. So you should
I
not
love
give
that.
up.
I love that. There you go. That's
How do I
powerful.
follow that up?
Let's go, Cash. Take this home, Cash.
For me, my biggest takeaway for the term is looking back and seeing how much I've learned over a 10-week span. I don't know how many people will go through the same journey that we did to find the research that we did, to find what we found out. But at the same time, to solve global challenges, I'm not saying it will need to take 10 weeks of knowledge and whatnot, but it takes little steps. Again, instead of cheating our way to finding a way
like
to
that.
the top,
right.
little shortcuts here and there, in the end, we're going to have to find the smooth road ahead and trying to find a way to solve these problems without any shortcuts. And with the innovations we have today, we may very well get there. We just need to learn how to use these innovations properly. Like Yukio said at the start with the knife, people use it in good ways, people use it in bad ways. But if we know how to use it in a way that benefits both sides in a sense, not saying that we have to make a knife absolutely perfect, because like we also said, nothing is perfect. But kind of teaching people, okay, maybe you shouldn't do this. We're still humans. We can't affect what another human does. But if we educate people on what to do, then maybe they might start listening, and maybe we can start
I
solving
love that.
problems.
That makes total sense. How do you close that segment, that episode, with so much just insights and maturity and just investment in the thoughts that these guys are processing and sharing with us? So again, a huge thanks to our very brilliant grade 8 and grade 9 students for their insights today. To our listeners, thank you for being part of the Hot Takes podcast. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep innovating.
ASMR.
Peace out.
Bye.